Hello. Can everybody hear? Everybody, what's up? Armin, the man himself, big spender. Good to see everybody. All right, let me get our special guest on the call right now. Corey, welcome. Right, Billy. Billy's going to be joining us in one sec. Okay. Billy,
Hey, Ian.
what's up? Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Hey,
Yes,
what's up,
sir.
everyone? Got a good crew here.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a few more people joining us in just a moment. But yeah,
Right.
where's
Hey,
where's
everyone. Hey,
everybody calling
Corey.
from? Montreal, will they be recording? Yes, indeed. There will be. Thumbs up. Nice, nice. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Vegas, Orlando, across the continent, worldwide. We got Canada, USA. Billy, you're in San Diego?
San Diego, yeah. And as you can see, it's finally sunny here. We have this, if anyone's ever been here, or if you live here, you know about this May gray, June gloom thing. A lot of people come here in May or June. They think, oh, summer, San Diego. And then they get here, it's just all clouds. But today it is very nice.
Nice. Yeah, it's fantastic. We got Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Jamal, Mohammed Jamal, Bahrain. Good to see you. Warsaw,
Very
Poland,
cool.
New Zealand. Oh, that's good morning. I don't even know how early it is there. It's probably like 3:15 in the morning or something. Something ridiculous.
Trooper. We like it.
Germany. Nice, nice, nice. Nice. Well, cool. Well, I know everyone here. I see some people I know are spending a lot of money on ads and making a lot more back. And yeah, I know Billy's a busy guy. I, on the other hand, I'll sit here and listen all day to everyone what's the word? Wax philosophical and all this stuff. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Okay,
Do it.
Mohammed just said really loved the last chat with Billy. So yeah, we got a lot of
Cool.
great feedback on the
Thanks,
last
man.
chat we did. It was super casual. This is a little bit more structured, and yeah, we want to just dive right in. So Billy, welcome, and I don't know if you want to just talk a little bit more about your background after we get into some of the content that I know you prepared for us.
Yeah, well, we were chatting, and Ian and I, how long do we go back? We go back a few years now.
2 years, yeah.
And whenever we chat, and thanks for having me, everyone, by the way, and thanks for taking the time on a Friday here. I'm sure you're excited for the weekend, like I am. But I promise this will be a good lead into it. And this conversation will be a lot like the ones that Ian and I always have, that we've been having for years, where we just geek out on marketing, geek out on copywriting, geek out on ads. And so we're going to do something similar here and share some good content. And then we have this workshop, this awesome 3-part workshop that we're going to be opening up. A cohort, that's the term these days, these cohort-based programs. And so we'll tell you about that at the end, because that's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, Ian and I were chatting about copywriting and specifically this book. And type in the chat if you have read this one. This is Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And I forget what I paid. I think I got a good deal on it, and that was $100, because it's what? I think it's Like, I know Brian Kurtz, he's selling it on, he has a new website for it, but still, you go on Amazon, this thing's $400 or $500, which means that, not as many people have read this book as should read this book. And it's just very underutilized. And, one of the things that I really took away from that book, because that was a big influence on this framework I'll be talking about, this messaging framework I created called the 5 light bulbs. But back in the 50s, Eugene Schwartz, he was writing ads. He was writing an ad for a client who developed a TV repair manual. So back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, repairing a TV was a big deal. Like, it was not, I don't know if you guys, we had one of those growing up, not like back then, but a big TV that you could actually take apart and work on. And people were freaked out about touching these things. I mean, it would be like me working on my car, right? My 2022 car. Like, it's just, I'm not going to touch that thing. It's just way beyond me. But this product creator found a way that you could figure this out. You could figure out how to repair your TV. So the idea was, well, if you're Eugene Schwartz, how do you convince people of that? How do you, in one ad, these were single shot ads, direct mail that they were sending, because if he were just to discount the product, discount this how-to guide, slash the price, how much of an effect would that have if people really didn't believe that they could do it, that they could repair their TV? And you see that a lot. You see that, I'm sure you've experienced that, where you slash your price and then you slash it again, you give all sorts of bonuses, and it's like you just hit this resistance, right? Like, it doesn't have the effect that you think. You might get some sales, but even those sales that you get from discounting the price, I mean, how good are those customers? They're typically not your best customers, and they're likely to refund too. So this was a big problem for Schwartz and a lot of copywriters. And what he really discovered was that it all comes down to one word. It comes down to the word belief. And what he found was that your prospects need to have these beliefs in order to buy, specific beliefs. And if they don't, then you're gonna hit this resistance. And it doesn't matter how good a deal you offer, how much you slash the price, you're just not going to capture as many sales as you could. So this is how he would go about, and this is how a lot of copywriters and the top copywriters go about writing their ads, where they ask themselves this question. I love this question. What does my customer need to believe in order to buy? And if you start with that, it will take you to a good place, because then you start to identify them, and you really are identifying objections. You can consider this a more sophisticated form of objection handling. And it just makes sense that if you remove all the objections or instill all these beliefs that people need in order to buy, they're going to buy. So that's the approach that he took, and that's really what became the start of me creating this framework, trying to bring what's in here, which has been largely inaccessible because of the price, and it's also a very dense book, trying to put that into a very simple but powerful package for people. And that's this 5 light bulbs framework that we're going to talk more about today.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's so powerful about, to me at least, about the way that you frame this, and taking it back to Eugene Schwartz's stuff is, you know, going from hype to creating these ads around belief shifts, which is unbelievable. And that's why, I love the frameworks that you've come up with. And for those of you who don't know, so Billy, he's kind of not super public facing, but we were just chatting a couple of days ago, and he's like, "Oh, I just got done with the meeting." I'm like, "Oh, cool, yeah, it's Zoom, blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh no, it's actually in person." I go, "Oh, cool, in person. That's pretty badass." And it was some Y Combinator backed. I don't think they're like pre-Series A company, but they have quite a bit of funding. It's a really cool company, and they just flown in for a day to spend with Billy to learn a lot of this stuff that he's going to be teaching. And this is something that Billy's been doing for quite a while. And for instance, Ryan Dice, digital marketer. So Billy's trained their whole team on all this stuff. And if you know anything about digital marketer, so the way they got started was they basically it's actually had a tremendous amount of integrity. Was they basically wanted to teach people how to do digital marketing by basically building actual brands, and running like survival brands, running health brands, etc. So they're actual real hardcore marketing practitioners, and not just teaching this stuff. in an abstract way. And so that's the environment that Billy stepped in, for instance, in that situation. And Billy's worked with David Garfinkel, who's the mentor to Craig Clemens at Golden Hippo's co-founder for and copywriter behind most of their big video sales letters. So, anyways, Billy is kind of secretive a bit, but yeah, I just wanted to give some highlights on what I know about your career, and I know there's a lot more to it.
Thanks for talking me up. Yeah, it's been fun. I really like. Uh, I've always been good at understanding complex topics, technical topics. That's why I work with these subject matter experts. People like Ryan,
Mhm.
Tiago Forte. I work closely with him, and these tech companies too, because and my background is actually in tech, so I can understand what they're doing and translate it into compelling language. And that's the thing, right? It's like you have a good product, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the marketing is going to be good or that the people are going to get it. So a lot of these tech companies, they have like amazing software, but they can't translate it into why someone should buy the software. So that's why they hire me. And I
Yeah.
used, when I had that VIP day with that tech founder the other day, we went through the 5 light bulbs and we created a messaging map. And what we were doing at the heart of that was what Eugene Schwartz did, which is go through these beliefs, instill these beliefs. So it's, I'm very much a leverage kind of a guy. I don't like getting caught in the weeds or getting caught up doing tactics that don't really move the needle. I'm always taking a step back and then taking another step back and finding more leverage. And what I found when I especially started working with David Garfinkel early in my career, was that it's really all about the words. It's really all about the messaging. And we get caught up a lot. I know YouTube ads, we'll talk more about that, but there's a lot of tactical advice. And even around testing, I've looked at a lot of the advice around testing,
Yeah,
and it's
for
just
sure.
not very high leverage advice.
Yeah.
It's not really done with intention, asking the question, okay, well, what do we need to say to get someone to buy? And I tell you what, it's
Mhm.
often not the hypey ads that do the best. Like, you can have a lot of hype and say things loudly, but if you're saying the wrong thing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think a lot of us performance marketers come from a real swipe and deploy test first mindset, and that's why we built VidTow, is to really understand what is working. So understanding what's working, and then the next logical step for someone who's super trigger happy, like most of us, is like, okay, what's working? Adapt that to whatever my offer is, and then hit the gas. The gap there is really understanding why why you're testing what you're testing, and also just being more strategic about what am I actually testing here. I'm not just swiping something from brand X and UGC hook to animation, blah blah blah. Like, what beliefs am I actually addressing with these ads? And so that's an understanding gap that I think that um, this that your approach is really fill. That's why you know we're so excited to share it with our audience, because a lot of times the testing frameworks are simply create some new ads and throw it at the wall, see what sticks. And there's always an element of that, right? Because you never know what's going to work. But I think the more intelligently we can test and realize, like, this is what I love about the 5 light bulbs, that you might create a cohort or a batch of 10 ads, but they might be all light bulb 4. And then you haven't tested these other light bulbs at all. Even though you think you made a bunch of ads, you
Mm.
didn't actually test that many, you know, didn't test these different sort of entry points. So I don't know. Yeah, Billy, what do you think about just kind of talking people through on a high level what we're like? We've been mentioning these light
Yeah.
bulbs. I know we had the talk earlier. I think some of the folks were here for that, but what do you think about just kind of walking us through your approach just on a super high level strategically?
Yeah, and I love what you hit on there. You hit on some of the common advice given around testing, which again, it's just very in the weeds. It's not asking these high leverage questions like, what do my customers need to believe in order to buy? Can I actually show you one? Because I was researching this, and I'll pose a question too to the group, and I'm honestly curious. What is your framework for ad testing when it comes to messaging? I don't mean, and this is what I'll show you in a sec, things like, okay, we'll test a different image, test a different headline, because that's still ground level, right? That's not a high level test. So what I found was, because I look at the advice that's currently being given, and I go to some of the big names, and I found this from a pretty big name. This is from HubSpot, right? Huge company, very well respected. And they have this guide. It's a creative testing playbook. And Ian, let me know if you can see this.
Not yet.
Is this coming up?
Oh, perfect. Yep. See it.
Okay, so this is fine and this is fun. Looks good and everything, but it's pretty straightforward, right? And this is a 38-page document, and they're essentially saying, come up with a bunch of ideas, test them, and then run with the winners. Like, pretty straightforward, right? 38-page guide to tell you that. But but I try to find, okay, well, where do they tell you what to test, right? That's the big question. What do I test? And it's only right here. It's only in these two short paragraphs in this whole 38-page manual that they actually tell you what to test. I'll read it for you. So step one, test multiple creative concepts. So, if you're reading this and you're, someone like who's on our call, right? And you're interested in coming up with a bunch of YouTube ad ideas, they say, we recommend you start by testing 3 to 5 creative concepts and iterating the winning ones to learn what kind of creative is engaging for your audience. It's like, okay, thank you. It's kind of like Captain Obvious. With creative testing, it pays off to be hypothesis driven. Okay, again, thank you. Not very helpful. Produce your creatives based on hypotheses that are relevant to your brand. Thank you. Remember that your hypothesis should solve business challenges identified when you execute a gap analysis, as explained in the previous session. Okay, we didn't see the gap analysis thing, but this is not looking super sophisticated here, right? So Ian, that is and then they get into the actual logistics of it. So actually iterate on your winning concepts. So that's it. From the top, one of the top, thought leaders in this space. That is, I'm curious what you think. That is the advice on testing.
Yeah, it's pretty vague, not real concrete. And I mean, just also we're talking real super strategic here on the creative side, but let's just dip into the on the media buying side also. So, I mean, to ask a question, how are you to everyone? How are you setting up your tests on YouTube specifically? How are you setting up new testing new creatives that you come up with? How are you evaluating success, and how are you making sure that you're getting actual definitive results on what it is that you're testing? Just curious. Do you have a structure, or is it more of a spaghetti on the wall type of situation? And then, thanks to your brilliance as a creative, as a media buyer, you see some signal, and then you're able to scale it to the moon. Or do you have a more sort of step by step methodological approach? Just curious if you have any capable of sharing any of that. Armin, yeah.
The best I've seen, Ian, is typically you find two things. So you'll find most of the testing advice, it's very zoomed in, it's very in the weeds. So let's imagine you had already picked what belief you're going to target, and then you're testing different ad images, and if it's like an image based ad or different videos, right? Different different hooks, things like that, different language, different lengths perhaps, but you're still inside this box though, and you're only optimizing inside that box, not realizing that there are all these other boxes out there that could yield 5, 10 the results of optimizing that one box. To use an analogy here, I hope this is making sense. To use an analogy, a few years back, I was living in a downtown. I moved into a downtown apartment, and it was just a 1 bedroom. So I was working out of my living room, and so that was my home office, right? There's a lot of advice out there about how to optimize your home office. You guys have probably read this, especially since COVID. Right. So I was doing all the things, right? I set it up a little bit differently during the day when it was my workspace. And I kind of had it segmented off from the rest of the house. But no matter what I did, I just knew that I wasn't as productive as I could be. So I saw a deal on some office space down the road I could walk to, and I got that. And then even though that office, I was only maybe optimized like a 5 out of 10, whereas at home I was optimized 10 out of 10. A 5 out of 10 at that office was still 5 times. I was 5 times more productive than being at home. that makes sense? So it was a bigger needle mover. I could optimize all I want at home, but I would get diminishing returns. Switching my office, just for me, having this place where I could walk to a separate space and then walk home from, I was so much more productive, even though I hadn't really optimized that other office.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think what the five light bulbs framework really does is y- it's a lot of us get so focused on this one little pond of, you know, problem, agitate, solution, or whatever, like specific problem might be super obvious or that someone for whatever reason uncovered. And then we kind of beat that to death. Um, it's hard to step out of your own little bubble and see the wider landscape of options. And so this is a really great way of actually forcing yourself to adopt these different perspectives and really, um, yeah, I mean, understand customer from all elements, and then just methodically design ads that actually test these as entry points for your offer. So
I
that's
like your pond analogy. Yeah, it's like the fish born in water doesn't know that he is in water, right? And that's kind of the situation. Like you don't realize that you're still in this one little pond. So let's show you some different ponds. And so this is a good time to we'll introduce the light bulbs, talk about how it can be used as how I'm really excited to roll this out as a testing framework. This is largely a new thing.
yeah,
I mean, the framework's been catching on, has become very popular over the past couple of years, using it with these tech startups, people like Ryan Dice, my other clients. But it's largely been in the organic marketing world, the organic content world. And I was telling Ian, if it feels like we have a Ferrari here that's only been stuck in first gear, because the limited testing that we have done with this framework with paid ads has been really tremendous, and we're seeing really great results with it. So this program, this cohort that we're rolling out here, Bid Tau and the 5 light bulbs, this is going to be the first real push into using this for paid ads, and I think it's going to really get people an edge. And our goal is to make this the default, the gold standard testing framework, for testing messaging for YouTube ads and other paid ads. So let me share this with you. We'll dive into the light bulbs. So we're very zoomed out right now, and this is our overall. Ian, can you see this?
yep, I see it.
Okay. Yeah. So this is our overall marketing methodology. Very, very high level. Gathering insights, learning things. We have to learn things about our product facts, and things about our customers, right? We have to ask questions. Then we add all those insights to our 5 light bulbs, what we call a messaging map. And this is something that we'll be creating in this upcoming cohort. You're going to create a messaging map for your product. And so this is the missing piece. This is your core messaging. This is your best messaging. And you're always working on this thing. And you're always trying to find those messages, those beliefs that resonate the most. And so if you do that and you keep improving this document and it keeps growing and getting better and more nuanced, and then when you go to create whatever it may be, your YouTube videos, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, landing pages, anything, you're pulling from this well of material that's been refined and pruned over time. Whereas most people, I mean, 99% of people, when they go to create marketing assets, YouTube ads or whatever, they're starting right here. Have you noticed that, Ian?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the first principle. This is my understanding of first principles thinking, taking it one step back, like you're doing here, starting with this messaging map here.
Yeah, I use the analogy of a brand manual. You'll have companies spend 20, 30, $40,000 or more on a brand manual, and that has your typography in it, has your logo, your colors, and that way, and it makes sense, right? So then you can be consistent across all your different platforms or across your different marketing assets. But for the businesses that I've worked with, branding hasn't been as important, right? These have been smaller businesses where sales are more important than branding. So I said, well, why don't we create the same thing, but for your persuasive messaging? So one, that keeps us all aligned, that keeps all the messaging aligned, and consistency in messaging is really important. And two, it gives us this framework for testing, because now we can test different messages underneath these 5 categories. And that has been very powerful. Any
Yeah.
questions about that? Ian, anything from you?
Mo just mentioned something, how basically he ran, um, yeah, basically a lot of his ads through your 5 light bulbs, based on his understanding from some of the stuff we've done before. And basically it was like all his ads were falling into one or two different categories of the five. So there's, you're missing like 60% of the idea share, or yeah. So
Yeah.
it's classic situation, right? Where we get so focused on these opportunities that might, for whatever reason, be so obvious to us or others, and we miss out on a lot of these other opportunities. So yeah.
That's a good example. And who was that, Ian?
That's M Jamal there in the chat there.
I'm Jamal. Awesome. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, great comment. Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point of what I was talking about when I use my analogy of my home office versus my outside office, right? Like I was optimizing within just one environment. So it might be for you, it might be seems like what you found. I don't know which light bulb it was, but maybe it was light bulb 2. And you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do and testing all the things that you're supposed to do, but only within light bulb 2. And you might be doing an awesome job at that, but then you might switch to light bulb 1 and do a quote unquote crappy job with light bulb 1, but it might just be a bigger needle mover. And so that's going to work a lot better for you. And so that's a key point too. Like it can be less work. It can be
Yeah.
less work by just changing your perspective. You don't always have to push as hard.
And just wanted to add a name drop and a little anecdote for people. So if anyone knows Giddy Up, so Giddy Up is one of the top affiliate networks for really cool e-commerce products. They're a huge business. And I was talking with Eric, one of the co-founders. He's the CMO, if I'm not mistaken. And so he was telling me basically, so they get data across all the different offers that they run, and it's classic Pareto principle of Pareto principle. It's like the 80-20 of the 80-20. The first people to crack basically a new big idea for an offer, they make most of the money. And so his point was basically like, there's, intelligently exploring new angles and new approaches, obviously, while understanding that you got to make money with what's making money. That can be sort of the moonshot element of your business, sort of like the prospecting that can make a massive return. And so again, bringing it back, that's what's so cool about this method, is it allows you to intelligently like map the landscape of big ideas and actually go and very scientifically test this particular one or this particular one, versus just shotgun approach, spray and pray. Oh, sorry about my dog. But yeah, basically there's a lot to be gained from being that first person to actually crack that big idea. And this is how you actually find these, even for products that have been done to death. New twist, a new angle, a new market opens.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And is everyone familiar with the 80-20 rule? I take that for granted, but not everyone might be. It's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, this idea that, and maybe someone can type in, there's a great book by Perry Marshall on this, 80-20 sales and marketing. It's phenomenal. So applying 80-20 to our field. But the idea being that 20% of your customers will provide 80% of the revenue. And it's also true that 20% of your ads, as Ian is saying, will provide 80% of the performance. And it's even more extreme than that. Often it's 1% will provide 99, something like that, right? So the point is then, and this goes to Armin, what you're saying there. Yeah, people would rather focus on ads that already work and make smaller adjustments first. Yeah. So what you can do then is, instead of making those smaller adjustments, what you might find, because that's where you can spend a lot of time making these micro adjustments, what you'll find is that if you take 80-20 thinking to this and know that, well, one of the light bulbs, right? So 20% of the light bulbs, 1 out of 5, will perform 5 times better than the other ones. You might not need to make those micro adjustments. You might do a light test for each of the 5 light bulbs, hit a home run, and then, yeah, you can go in and make those micro adjustments later, but you've already achieved most of the upside from just finding that big needle mover. Does that make sense? Ian, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And just two things. So Rodolphe, that's Perry Marshall's 80/20 book, correct? Really.
Perry Marshall's, yeah, 80/20 sales and marketing.
And then also, we have a real special guest in the chat, if he's still here. Paris Lampropoulos, godfather of supplements, supplement VSLs, among many other things. Uh,
Paris
uh,
here?
Paris is in the chat. Legend in the flesh. And just so everyone knows, we had VidTal live last year in Oxford Union. Paris gave, I don't know, I think Paris, you might have missed your calling. You, as good a copywriter as you are, you delivered an insanely engaging and hilarious and moving and educational um, presentation on the on just like digging into those human emotions and that trauma, actually, and not like in a sleazy way at all, more from coming from a real genuine place and profiting as a result. Anyways, I know that's super vague for anyone who wasn't at the event. Don't miss the next one in 2024. We're not doing one this year. We're focusing on the software. But and big update coming on that. I don't know if anyone's in the Discord. Sorry for the ramble here, but completely rehashing VidTal 2.0. And it's going to actually expose a lot of the stuff that Billy's talking about, because you're going to be able to see even more so how a lot of the ads in your space might be focusing just on one or two of these light bulbs here. You'll see the opportunities firsthand with all this additional data that you're going to have.
Love it. Yeah. And Paris, I don't know if you remember me, but we met a few years back at the Copy Accelerator Mastermind in Austin and had a short conversation. But yeah, much respect for all you've done for the copy world. Let's go into, yeah, let me go back to the light bulbs here and we'll walk through those. So again, I love this book, this Eugene Schwartz book. There's a lot of concepts in here, a lot that haven't seen the light of day. Even people who are so-called professional marketers nowadays don't know anything that's in that book. But I get it. It's largely inaccessible. And what I wanted to do was, because I historically work with non-marketers, subject matter experts, people who have big audiences and great products, but they're not professional marketers. And so what I wanted to do was not say, okay, well, we can't use that advanced stuff. I asked, well, how can we use that? And so what I did was take a lot of those advanced concepts and bake them into this very simple, friendly, playful, you can see we have a bear, we have an owl framework. And so on the surface, it makes it very fun and engaging and approachable, especially to a lot of people that I have worked with who are very turned off by marketing. If they say, well, okay, if this is marketing, I can wrap my head around this. I can engage with this. But make no mistake, this thing is as friendly as it looks and as cute as the bear is, there's a very powerful operating system at the core of this thing. Like I said, one of the big things I built into this was Eugene Schwartz's chain of beliefs. Another one being his concept of the mechanism. So I'm sure a lot of the people on this call know about Schwartz's concept of the mechanism, often called the unique mechanism. The idea being, in a very saturated market, you want to devote more messaging to your mechanism, a little bit away from the promise, because everyone's making similar promises. What do you do in that situation? Everyone's making similar promises. You shift your messaging from the promise to the mechanism. And lo and behold, I mean, that's what I did, what I've been doing with clients, exactly what Schwartz recommended, shifting messaging from light bulb 5, the promise, to light bulb 3, the mechanism. And it's worked phenomenally well. You get better buyers, you get less friction, you get lower refunds, and you're not saying the same thing as everyone else. You're saying something different. So just another one of the ways I've taken one of these Eugene Schwartz concepts, and there are some other ones, and baked them into this simple framework. Okay, so this works because it maps to the human experience of making a decision. The light bulbs are categories of messaging that we have mapped to this journey, this very lived human experience. A lot of marketing frameworks out there were built for marketers, really not built for communicating with people. This is very human, and that's why it works, because marketing is about being human. Okay, so let me go into, so that was a quick overview of the light bulbs. I don't have a ton of time to spend on that, but I think you get the idea. It's very intuitive, right? And so let me subtract out the world that we built here, the characters and the landscape, and just look at the light bulbs on their own. Think about that, Ian, before I move on.
Sorry, cut out for I think my sound cut out for 1 second.
No problem. Any comments on this before I move on?
I mean, I love the bear, you know. It takes me back. I know, Billy, I love how you create these characters. So it's makes it a lot, yeah, it just allows you to actually engage with the material more so than just being super like, you know, primitive PowerPoint. So yeah, love the bear, love the we'll get there's more symbolism here that I don't want to give away, but
Yeah,
thumbs up.
there's some deep stuff in here. Yeah, and I don't want to have, and then shout out to Matt, Matt Strebe, my illustrator in Oregon, who did all this. I wanted to have original art for this, and he really captured the vision. And yeah, it just makes it more engaging for people. Okay, so but now if we're getting away from the world here and just getting down to brass tacks and looking at these 5 simple light bulbs. So it's your status quo, it's the other bridges that your customer has tried, it's your unique mechanism, or what we call your light bulb 3, it's your offer, and it's that other side of the bridge, light bulb 5, your customer's new life. So what we'll be doing in what we do with the 5 light bulbs, and we'll be doing in this upcoming 3-part workshop between Ian, his team, and with me, is we'll be fleshing out these 5 light bulbs for you. So asking the question, what is my customer status quo? What are the other options that they've tried? We got some really good questions to ask you to find some different angles to take. So that way we really cover all our bases because the 5 light bulbs are universal. I mean, they cover it from start to finish. You can go through any ad now, go through some sales letters, go look at YouTube ads, go look at Facebook ads, and start to label them. Start a swipe file, and you will see that the light bulbs will just jump out at you. They just pop. So it really is this universal language, which tells us that we can use it in reverse too. We can create our messaging using this model. Now, you look at this, and it's super simple, right? It's just 5 circles. But don't be fooled by how simple this thing is, because it can escalate very, very quickly. So what we'll be doing in this cohort is turning this into an ad testing framework. And what that looks like is this. Excuse me.
You got it looks like these little viruses here, these ad idea viruses already infected you, Billy.
Yeah, the idea virus.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
virus.
tons of ideas. Yeah, sorry to borrow that term from, I think it's Seth Godin, but that's a good way to think about the idea virus. Yeah, it has emergent properties. These
Yeah.
things. So when you take these 5 light bulbs, there's so much. They're very dense. There's so much packed into each one of them. And so what this shows is how we're going to be setting up your ad testing framework. And so what you see grayed out is everything that is not the ad in this case. So you can pretend like this graphic is just representing one ad, but you're seeing the whole picture. So in this case, it's going to be one ad. It's going to be a light bulb 3 ad. That's why light bulb 3 is highlighted here. And then we have all these beliefs that go along with it. We have these points that we need to get across, concepts that we need to sell. Not so much the product just yet, but these concepts, right? Or these objections that we need to remove. That's what this orange circle represents. And then we figure that out and we say, okay, well, here's the point that we need to get across. Here's the sale that we need to make. Here's what they need to believe. But that's not enough, is it? To just come up with that? Because then it's like, okay, well, what is actually appearing in the ad? And that's where these final and smaller circles come into play. And we're going to give you all sorts of packaging, all sorts of forms of proof, ways to get these points across. And so then this becomes the ad that you run. And so now you're seeing the big picture, whereas before you might have been stuck in, maybe you were stuck in this light bulb 2 silo, like I talked about, and you were just testing things within light bulb 2. Now, not only do you see these other 4 opportunities for testing, but now you see this emergent or exponential model where you can really be strategic about okay, here's the point I'm getting across, and here's the way that I'm going to get it across. And then I'm going to test another way. I'm going to test this one next, perhaps this one right below it. And then maybe this is your ad set, actually, running all of these together. Or maybe it's some from light bulb 3 and some from light bulb 2. And you can systematically cross them off as you go and say, I tried that, I tried that, I tried that. And look, 80-20 rule, right? The goal is not to create the perfect ad the first time, but the 80-20 rule, knowing that 20% of your ads will return 80% of the benefits, or more like 90-10, or or 1 in 99. Do you think that if you went through and created ads for all these, that you might, maybe not in the first 1 or 5 or even 10, but eventually hit oil with what you're testing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's powerful stuff, and Beresford said he's been trying some of this stuff, just the surface level stuff that you shared in the that hour training we did earlier, and doing some stuff with Chat GPT, and mixing that together and getting some great results. And yeah, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, honestly, with what this approach can do for you, really. So just a whole new way of looking at how to actually uh, come up with ads and test ads and iterate from that, and understanding, like you keep saying, what beliefs you're actually targeting. So yeah, so again, keep saying the same thing, but it's fantastic stuff.
Well, and yeah, and Paris, reach out to me. I would love to help you out with that. And Paris, you probably understand that, and top copywriters all know this, that, and creative people all know this, that creativity thrives under constraints. In order to think outside the box, you need a box. And that's what I was missing before. It was like marketing, messaging. It's just like so free flowing. It's so out there. What is it anchored to? And that's why this thing works the way it does, where it's so dense and so emergent, where you're constrained by these 5 light bulbs, and you're even constrained by these beliefs here. And once you provide yourself that constraint, then you can have as much fun as you want. Then you can come up with all the ad ideas that you want. So you have these, what I think, we're talking about, forget the 5 light bulbs for a sec. If we're asking the question, what would be the characteristics of the gold standard of ad testing frameworks? Well, I think one of them is that it needs to be one based on psychology. It has to have intention, unlike what we saw from our friends HubSpot over here, which I don't even know what they're talking about. Uh, and 2, it's got to do 2 things. It's got to, 1, allow for creativity, but creativity not anchored to something like that advances the sale. Is just, it's what a lot of brands do. It's like, oh, it's creative, but it didn't make any sales. So it's got to be creative, but the second part of it is it does have to be anchored to something persuasive, something sales advancing. And so, that's why I think, we have a framework here based on psychology, and it also checks those boxes of it. It's creative, but it's anchored to something. So I think we got a good one here. I don't know. Like I said, Ian, like, we're still new to the paid ad world with this framework, but what we've seen so far in the organic world is that it's working really well. So I'm excited to bring it to you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing to do a course or do some kind of training where you share information and you kind of receive it in a vacuum. You don't really have a chance to actually engage with people, and engage with people who are maybe more experienced, or in this case, like Billy, who really came up with this whole idea himself. So that's why we're doing this as a cohort, basically starting next Wednesday. So this is all live right now, and so the bus is leaving on Wednesday. The train's leaving the station, so you can join us and get ahead of your competition in terms of being able to pump out a very, very good ads targeting specific beliefs, or not. But yeah, train leaves the station on next Wednesday. And yeah, Billy, so we got these 3 cohorts planned, right? In the circle community, the pop-up community.
Yeah.
What's up with
One, one,
all this
one
stuff?
cohort, 3 sessions. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been running cohorts for, for a while. I ran one back before it was cool. In 2014, I had a beer brewing or beer tasting cohort. That was a lot of fun. So I actually like doing a beer tasting class live with people over. It wasn't Zoom, it was Webinar Jam back then. But since then, they become a big thing. Instead of doing some self-paced on-demand course, now using the technology that we have, like we're using right now, video chats and everything, and taking a group through a class through live, like just like you would do in a real world in-person classroom setting. And that way we can be together, and it's not just going to be a one-way lecture. It's going to be interactive. You're going to be working on your work. You're going to be doing work on these calls. And two, we'll have this pop-up group in Circle. And that way I'm in there. Because like you can tell, like I'm into this. This is my baby. This is my creation. And I'm like a mad scientist in a laboratory. And I'm so excited to have people in this cohort using what I've created here, and me being able to help them is just like thrilling. So we're going to have this group where I'm in there, and then Ian and his team will be in there. So bringing together the messaging side on my end, and then the YouTube ad side on Ian, Vitao, and Sepley's end. But what do you think, Ian? Should we walk through the 3 sessions we have planned here?
Yeah, let's dig into it.
Yeah. So first thing is, going back to the messaging map over here, we're going to create this thing. We only have one session. We won't be able to trick it out, but we will get a basic one together, which frankly is like the 80-20 of it. There's that word again. And then you can always, and you'll have this thing. This will be a living document that you will have even after the cohort ends, that you can constantly update, refer to. Anytime you learn something new, you get some new customer insights, customer quotes. Now you have a place to put them. Just drop them in one of the 5 buckets. And then you'll have that at your fingertips when you go to create whatever kind of marketing material you want to create. So that'll be the first session. It'll be a 2-hour session on Zoom. You'll have work time on Zoom. You'll have me there, and you'll be fleshing out your 5 light bulbs. Okay, so doing that upfront work, right? I like to say, do things that your future self will thank you for. So your future self who's creating the actual ad will thank you for creating this messaging map. Okay, if we're all good on that one, then our second session is where we're going to go through, we're going to come up with this. So I'm going to go back to this crazy looking thing, this emergent model here, the expanded 5 light bulbs, kind of like a transformer that just unfolded. We're going to create this for you. We're not going to obviously fill in like all the different ads, but we'll do a handful so you get practice with it. We'll also, we want to make this, we want you to get the biggest ROI right out of the gate. So we're going to have you do some exercises where we try to surface, okay, well, out of all the things that we could say, out of all the beliefs that we could target, what might be the main ones? And I have some good exercises for you guys to find those, so that when you do test, you have the best shot of success. But make no mistake, you will be testing through all 5 of your light bulbs. Yeah, I was just talking to a guy, and he does Facebook ads and Google PPC. And he's been using the 5 light bulbs for about a year now, and really excellent results. Yeah, seeing cutting his cost per lead in half on many occasions, and then also has his whole company speaking now the language of the light bulbs. That's something we haven't talked a whole lot about, but it's really valuable when you can talk with your team, especially in a fast-paced environment, and say, hey, I need a light bulb 2 ad. Hey, I need a light bulb 3 quote. So that's been a nice surprise benefit that we found with the light bulbs, giving this common language to speak about marketing to an organization. All right. And then, so you're going to have this. We're going to set up we'll do some samples. We're going to set up a collection of ad ideas for you based off your 5 light bulbs, based off your messaging map. You'll get this formula for coming up with your own ideas after we part ways. But then we want you to run with what you do create in the workshop. And then that's where Ian and his team come in.
Yeah, no, totally. So, we want to make sure that you are armed with not only the messaging, but also on a more tactical level, real strong examples in terms of format, etc., for what's working right now. And that's what BitTowel has. We have over 1 million ads at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, in our index, and we're about to inside of BitTowel 2.0, which is launching very soon. That number is going up by many multiples. So we'll have at least that many advertisers in the database, believe it or not. And so lots of opportunity to really identify ads that are working for for similar offers to you or other offers, other businesses that might be interesting to test their approaches, even if they're in totally different realms. So arming you with those examples, and then also really tactically a launch plan for how to actually set this all up and do a very scientific test inside of the ad platform to make sure that you're actually running a test properly and you're actually seeing results that you can make decisions with. And this is a huge part of being able to apply all this stuff so that you can actually see immediate results on your campaigns. So we want you to leave these 3 weeks with that in place. So your launch and testing plan. And like Billy said, so our team's going to be in there inside of the circle group to answer questions during these 3 weeks and also help everyone build these testing plans so that you can press go and start launching these as soon as you get the videos ready to rock.
Love that. All right, so some details now, gang, on the program. So we're going to do, again, it's going to be a cohort. It's going to be done live over Zoom, 2 hours each session. Here are the sessions. So we're going to start this thing next week. We'll kick it off soon here. So June 21st will be the first one. We'll do one on June 28th and then wrap up on July 5th. And again, we'll have that pop-up group in Circle. Open that up. We'll have a bunch of fun in there. Make some good connections, get feedback from me, Ian's team. And then when we're done, we'll close that up. Okay. Anything to add, Ian, on that?
No, that sounds great.
Okay. So invite to the Zoom sessions, the pop-up community on Circle, and the feedback. That is the offer, gang, and it's $500, which is for all that a really good deal. And look, this will give you an edge. I wouldn't do this with anyone. Ian and I, we're buds. We've been buds for a while, and I love when he started VidTow, what he was doing. You were in the Facebook ads world before, Ian, and then I saw you come to this world and just rock it. And so I love what you're doing, and we got something cool too. And so just combining VidTow and the 5 light bulbs and bringing in this awesome audience of yours, everyone on the call today. Yeah, I think this is going to make some waves.
Yeah, super excited to share it with everybody. Our team is excited to go deep with you on this as well. And I think it's just a massive win for everybody. And I just dropped the link in the chat there. So it's vidtow.com/unlimited-youtube-ads. You can see it there in the chat. Yeah, and it's not, no false scarcity here. This is a live cohort. So you join before Tuesday night at midnight and, you can join us for this journey. Also for the first 5 people who join. So we're going to do a full account audit as well. So with our media buying team so that we have give you some things to test right now. And so that, you can come into end of week 3 with even more cash in the bank from all your campaigns to lay into these new ads that you're going to make with this program. So just wanted to add that. And yeah, I mean, hopefully this is a pilot project for us. So it's the first time we're doing this, but there's just an insane amount of value here. And if we do this again, it's going to be for a significantly higher price point because as you can see here, there's a lot of expert one-on-one attention involved. And so yeah, it's just we wanted to make this as easy a yes for people who are interested as possible. And just let's make this an amazing 3 weeks and come out with the systems built for each of our businesses, and you can step on the gas and really take things to the moon.
Yeah, I've staked a lot on this, and I'm not going to let you fail with this. I have a vested interest in having you succeed. So I'm going to be in there rolling my sleeves up. I promise I will match your energy. So whatever you put into the group, into the sessions, I'm there with you. And I love that. Like, please utilize the training. And yeah, I imagine when we do this again, it's going to be a lot more expensive and probably won't have as much of our personal time involved as well. So this is definitely the time to get in on it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is fully dedicated to really implementing the 5 light bulbs for unlimited YouTube ads for your business. This is what it's all about, and this is what we're focused on in this group. So this is separate from everything we've been doing inside of the VidTile Slack or now VidTile Discord. This is hyper focused on getting you to the finish line, and really implanting this into your business. So that's the single focus. I mean, what would you say is the North Star for us during this 3 weeks, Billy?
Not just the ideas that you're going to come up with, but then also the process of coming up with ideas later and knowing how to go into a light bulb and all the different choices that you have within it, and then how to generate a bunch of creative ideas. And look, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna, maybe the first few don't do anything, but you are gonna strike oil. And I don't know what light bulb it's gonna be for you. I think about, I mentioned Tiago Forte earlier. If anyone is in this productivity space, he has a book out called Building a Second Brain, and I helped him grow his business a lot. And for him, it was light bulb one. So if you hear him talking about this, you hear him talking about the 5 light bulbs, he says, "Oh yeah, it was light bulb one for me. Once I started turning on that light bulb." How does he describe it? Oh, he describes it as, I love this. Imagine a hot desert floor, and it's so thirsty for water, and it's like a drop of water, a drop of rain falling on that hot desert floor, and it just sucks it right in. And that's how it is when you hit on the right light bulb. Like, this person is like that hot desert floor, and they just have this thirst for something, for you to say something, for someone to say something that's just not being said. And then when you say it, it is just that thing that causes the dam to break. So that's our North Star, is really just following the evidence, following math, following the 80/20 rule, which Ian has analyzed more ads than almost anyone on the planet. And Ian, like, it is the 80/20 rule, isn't it? Like, you see that that's the one consistent thing that we see across the board. So let's plan for that and roll with the punches and use that knowledge to our advantage. That's my mindset.
Yeah, no, totally. And I forgot to add this earlier. So I don't know if anyone on the call saw what our team put together, our Inceptly data science team put together on vShred. So we had our data scientists analyze, I think it's 2020 at different ads from vShred they've run over the past 3 years. And basically it's classic Pareto principle 80/20 situation where most ads fail in terms of they're not winners. Most ads they don't spend more than $5,000 on. Um, but the ones that do win, they find those gems, they scale like crazy. And that's a big secret to success. And this is, again, taking it back to this program, this is about giving you the kind of framework and the experience actually operating that framework under the supervision of experts, so that you can have this capability in your own business to understand how to ideate new ads to test, and then how to actually set these ads up, test them, and then find winners and scale them, and keep that whole process going, as inevitably those winning ads are going to die out and you need to deal with creative fatigue and constantly be launching new ads. So that's what we're trying to do. We see it firsthand. Need to have the capacity to create new creatives that hit on these different entry points, uncover entirely new hooks and angles, and that can just open up entirely new opportunities for scale on YouTube, which is what we'll be focusing on. But as many of you know, stuff that works on YouTube can work very well on other platforms. So you see it all the time. Videos that work great on YouTube will often, well, not always often, but many cases are excellent candidates to test on Facebook and can work very, very well. So this is not just limited to YouTube in terms of what you're going to be coming up with. This will help you do the same thing on other platforms, TikTok, on the YouTube Shorts. We can go into detail on that, and tactically in the circle group with our team. But just giving you the ability to come up with a lot of ideas based on Billy's 5 light bulbs framework intelligently, and then test them. That's what this is going to be all about. So super excited to work with you on this.
Yeah, and the framework, it's very intuitive. People get it, but it's one thing to know the framework. It's another to turn it into this methodology for producing marketing assets. And this right here, these arrows, is typically where the ball is dropped. It's like, okay, how do we go from this to this? And that's where something like this workshop, where we're working with you, can really make the difference, help you get that ball across the finish line. So you don't just have a worksheet full of answers. You actually have finished ads that are out there running and performing for you.
Yeah. No, yeah, we're going to be holding your hand through the whole thing. Really. That's the idea. Like Billy said, it's not just about giving you some really powerful frameworks. That's unbelievable in itself, but we want to basically leave nothing to chance. So not only coming up with the 5 light bulbs and the messaging map based on that for your business, but then also helping you evolve those to specific ads to actually test on YouTube, and actually helping you get that set up in your account, launching these campaigns and understanding how you're going to be testing these, optimizing them and scaling them.
Yeah. And Ian, since you added a bonus, one I'll put in there too, and I'll give this to everyone, but I wasn't going to at first, is I have writing prompts, 25 writing prompts that actually map to each of the light bulbs. So we're going to help you come up with your own creative ones. That's a big part of this, coming up with your own unique ad ideas here, like I showed. But as you might imagine, having done a lot of this work over the past few years and seeing and analyzing a lot of copy, you find similar patterns and similar types of writing or prompts associated with each light bulb. So I have a great document of 25 writing and prompts for each light bulb, and I'll give that to you guys as well. And that can get you started with some ideas in creating ad copy.
Amazing. So we got those 2 bonuses for everyone joining on the call. Any questions, any concerns, anything that people want to get more info on in terms of this program? We're here and happy to chat for a few more minutes. I've got a hand raised here, please. Stanley, go for it. I don't know how do I, oh, can you just type in the Q&A, Stanley? Just real quick, and we'll riff on it. Apologize. I'm not super familiar with this platform yet. Zoho meetings. So
What
Stanley,
about? I think I found it though. Allowed to talk with video. Let's try this.
okay, go for it.
Looks like it's connecting. I think it worked.
All right, let's see if you got any other questions.
Stanley, are you there? Okay, I don't think so, but it looks like he asked in the.
For Quora answers, I'm interested in this specifically for Quora answers. Would it work for me too? Interesting. Huh. Billy, what do you think?
I'm not exactly sure of the question. I'm familiar with Quora. If you mean, can you use the 5 light bulbs to come up with Quora answers? Do you understand it differently, Ian?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not incredibly versed at Quora as a yeah. So,
Well,
but
if that is it, then if that's the question, yeah, can you use the 5 light bulbs for Quora? Then yeah, certainly.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
You can use it for anything. You can use. I want to write a book, The 5 Light Bulbs for Relationships. Like it's good for married couples even. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a persuasive communication model. It's a rhetorical.
Stanley, that's really cool that you're using Quora to generate traffic. What an interesting platform. It's kind of like analogous to YouTube in some ways, because it's just dependent on quality public content, basically. So it's like a text YouTube almost, but more of like an interactive base. Yeah, super cool. I'll just first of all, Billy, the relationship book sounds amazing. Definitely keep us posted on that. Sorry
I'll
to
give you an
interrupt.
advanced copy.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Rodolphe is saying the client side. Yeah, absolutely. That's what our team is fantastic at, is combining the creative elements with obviously making it compliant so you can run. And yeah, absolutely. That will be covered in the program. Sweet. All right. Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you, Billy, for collaborating on this. It's going to be really fun. I'm personally looking to, like you said, you mentioned this earlier, breakthrough advertising as a book, sort of as the inspiration for a lot of this. It's one of these books where I think I read it the first time like 10 years ago, and I still feel like embarrassed about what a small fraction of it is actually ingrained in my sort of marketing toolkit. So I'm really excited to dive into this along with everyone else. And I know our team is going to be pumped to be helping and facilitating this so that we can a lot of YouTube ad generating beasts in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's what it's really about. I mean, there's such a big difference between a cohort when you're actually meeting live and you're doing the work versus a course that you just take on your own that you never get to. I mean, frankly, like, yeah, the content is going to be really good, of course, that's coming up in this thing, but it's going to be actually getting the work done, actually doing this with other people. The accountability piece, that's the big benefit of this. So if that appeals to you and you want to be around other people who are doing a similar thing and get our help with this, we'd love to have you. And if not, catch you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Billy. Excited to do this, and everyone on the call. Feel free to email info@vidtao.com if you have any questions specifically on the course, and then Billy and I will chime in on that. Just put the email here. And then I'm going to add just one more time here while we're still on the call. This is the link to join the course, to join the cohort. And again, this ends Tuesday night before we start on Wednesday. So
Awesome.
get in and claim
we
your
already
early
got some
access.
people signed up. So yeah, awesome. Great to see all the new people. It's gonna be fun.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Billy. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care, gang. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.